What's going on? Is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. I'm here in the city. This is actually where my office is. So when we have the meetup here in Detroit next year, because you know we go to a different city every single month in order to add as much value to you guys on the Patreon. When we have a meetup here in the city, sometime next year, probably next summer, we had one last year, or this year anyways. You guys will get to see exactly what the office and the creative space is like. Look at that right there. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's pretty cool. Y'all can see what the office and the creative space is like, and then I can take you for a ride. So let me do a little bit of housekeeping before we get this out the way. Make sure you hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and then turn on your notifications so that you can tap in anytime we live stream. I'm actually kind of sort of vacationing away from live streaming. I'm gonna be in Miami very, very shortly in the next couple of days. I'm gonna be doing a video with Pearl, so me and Pearl got some time scheduled. I got former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. I'm gonna drop that interview soon. Got another Charleston White interview that we dropping soon. So we got a lot going on and we working. So if you're not a part of the Patreon, the link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat for me to be able to add as much value as possible so that you guys can get all of the interviews and you can get all of the game, because I plan on dropping a Patreon exclusive video that helps you to be able to level up and add value going into the new year, either today or tomorrow. So the editor's got to get that done and get that back to me, and then we're going to get it popping. But I want to have a conversation specifically about the gender war, right? And I think it's more important than ever that we identify exactly what the gender war is, if we've been warring, and is it over? What's the gender war? How long we've been in it? Is it still on? What's the state of it? How we can get out of it, so on and so forth. So my mindset towards this is there is a gender war, right? And I hear people all the time, specifically women, saying, you know what, I'm so tired of men and women warring. And let me tell you why. They say that because they are on the losing end. The women that exclaim this, they're on the losing end of whatever is happening in society. Now, women often at times think that they're winning because they'll get a small victory, and they'll send one of us to jail, or they'll find themselves in a space to where they can rally behind a very, very bad issue, and then they real quiet when something don't go their way. So let me give you an example, two contrasts. Something that recently happened this year. You got Meg Thee Stallion, and women are rallying behind the whole idea that we can send Tory to jail, and he's possibly facing 22 years. God forbid he ever do anything close to 22 years, but he's possibly facing 22 years. And the issue isn't even whether or not he's guilty or not. The issue is that we have a system that is set up for him to fail. Let me say it one more time. A system for him to set up for him to fail. It's not innocent until proven guilty, because obviously there were too many questions for us to be able to gather whether or not he actually did it or not. And the number one witness, which was her, Meg Thee Stallion, that jumped on the stand, could not truly corroborate her story, and she lied multiple different times. And so how am I to believe a person is telling the truth, but yet we still convict a man and then send him to jail and then completely ruin his life? I think that that's beyond unreasonable. It's beyond unreasonable. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, obviously you don't, but you should have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt whether or not somebody is guilty or not, right? But that's not real. And what I seen had nothing to do with the trial itself. The thing that was the most egregious to me was all of the cheerleaders and everybody that had something to say negative, specifically women and some men that had some of the most egregious things to say about Tory Lanez and the situation and about men in general, because although he is not necessarily a reflection of me, any one of us can be in that position if we find ourselves, and I'm not saying specifically shooting, but anybody can say anything about you, and then this is still the narrative, regardless of whether or not the witness is credible or not, is to believe all women. And then you had on the other end of the spectrum, Amber Heard, right? And I think this is even more egregious because nobody can account for how much money Johnny Depp lost as a result of all of the accusations, the problems, the issues, the trouble that came along with aligning himself with an Amber Heard, who admittedly, and obviously slept with multiple different people, including allegedly Elon Musk. Now, what does that say about our society? What does it say when you have a group of women that is advocating for equal rights? Basically, they want all of the benefits that come along with being a man, but they advocate against updating the family court laws, advocating against it being equal when it comes to believe all men. I think that it is a sad travesty, and 2022 was a reality check for me in a lot of ways, but not just with regard to my life or the things that I've seen and the different cases that we were witnesses to, but it was also as a result of paying attention to how people respond to the different things that's happening in this society. It's egregious. It is. And for anybody to sit here and say to me, no, it's not a big deal, or Anton, you shouldn't care because it doesn't affect you. What happens to the whole mantra during the protesting and things like that when they say, when somebody is silent, or, you know, an offense against one of us is an offense against all of us, and your silence speaks more to what it is that we standing for than anybody that decides to stand up against or for something. I'd rather you pick a side than for you to be lukewarm, for you to act like it doesn't exist. It exists. There is a gender war. And let me just tell you something. Not only is it a war, but it's just getting started. And I don't think that women or men are going to like the results that come along with it. What you're going to find is that there's going to be more families that don't come to fruition and are broken up, and households that are destroyed, and wealth that goes down the drain, because the single biggest financial decision that you can make is who it is that you decide to lay next to every day. You're gonna find a situation where there's a lot of people that get what's the word that I'm looking for? Abused, sat down on the sidelines, being made examples of, men that get railroaded, women that wind up finding themselves unable to find a mate and alone, and all of this other type of stuff. It's not a good situation. It's not going to be something that plays out that, you know, for anybody's benefit. But the question that you then have to ask yourself is, who's going to suffer the most? Who's going to suffer the most? Let me tell you who's going to suffer the most. Your children. Your children are going to be the ones that pay for the sins of their fathers and their mothers. They're going to be the ones that suffer as a result of being raised by single parents. They're going to be the ones that suffer the most because you should have left them an inheritance and instead you left them debt. They're going to be the ones that suffer the most because they're not going to have the blueprint of how to be successful when it comes to relationships, money, or marriage. They're going to be the ones, and this is what the word says. The word says the children are the ones that suffer for the sins of their parents. And so when this gender war takes place, and it's going to take place, has nothing to do with how I feel, has nothing to do with what's going on, it's just the truth. When this gender war takes place, just remember, you asked for this. Every last one of you asked for this, that wanted to advocate against the thing that was best for you, and you wanted to go down this path. And so now, as your children suffer as a result of the decisions that you continue to support, don't sit here and act like you didn't know. That's my thoughts. I'd love to get what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Rate, comment, subscribe. Hit a like for YouTube algorithm. Make sure you share this with your friends and family. And again, make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let me say one more thing about my bag chasers. Bag chasers are the Patreon members. Those women ain't the same as these women. Those women aren't advocating for the gender war. However, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be affected by it. If you want to understand how it is that you need to do, how it is that you need to do things a little bit differently, make sure you join the Bag Chasers. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.